We are also tracking more storms now pushing through southeastern Texas. While some parts of Houston were finally getting a bit dry after a week of deadly flash flooding there, other parts are in fact bracing for the worst yet to come. And for the first time ever, the National Weather Service has issued a flood warning for 2 reservoirs near several neighborhoods and commercial areas. Manuel Bojorquez has the latest from Houston.
After another round of soaking rains, streets still look like waterways, and many homes in the Houston metro area are still underwater.
I'm all the way down here on the left-hand side.
Mike Moore wanted to help, so he rented a canoe and has been paddling his neighbors in and out for supplies.
Why do you feel compelled to do it, to help out?
It's community. I mean, you know, the people here are suffering. Everybody's losing cars, jobs, livelihood. You just want to help.
Some are already trying to pick up the pieces. Stephen Cobb's home was ravaged by floodwaters. The people helping him, complete strangers. Cobb is thankful.
I wouldn't be able to do it. All this can be replaced, but we live in the greatest community, the greatest city.
The city of Houston is trying to prevent future tragedies. This new video shows the moments after Claudia Melgar drove her SUV around a roadblock and into the deep floodwaters. The 25-year-old drowned in her car before a toll worker could reach her.
We've got to identify every location like that, and we've got to put in place a barrier system that prevents people from driving in.
And Manuel Bojorquez is in Houston. And Manny, the pictures tell the story here. How are conditions at this hour?
Well, right now, as you can see, even though the floodwaters are slowly starting to recede, there's just so much of it that places like this apartment complex are still flooded. You can see there are vehicles submerged behind me all the way back there. All those vehicles you see behind me in the distance also were submerged at some point, basically ruined. This apartment complex, luckily, though, is built on stilts, so the apartments themselves aren't ruined. This is just off Cypress Creek, and if we can pan over, I want to show you that there's actually a current, a pretty swift one, in the middle of this parking lot. So that gives you an idea of just how much water is rushing into these swollen creeks and rivers here in the Houston area, why it is still causing flooding 4 days after the major rain event that happened here. We are expecting to see more rain again today, so people, of course, keeping a close eye on this, just hoping to dry out, but it's not going to happen just yet.
Okay, so and to that point, I mean, this is water looking for places to go. What is exactly the forecast today?
Well, we are expected to see some thunderstorms later this morning, not expected to be huge as far as anything compared to what's happened here earlier, maybe an inch or two of rain. Not expected to trigger any significant flooding, but the problem here is that you have rain that has happened across the state, a lot of runoff coming all the way from north down here to Houston, so this is all accumulating down here, and that's the reason that you haven't seen any relief as far as the water subsiding just yet, because even though we're not getting rain right now, the rivers and creeks are still starting to rise.
Anecdotally, as opposed to the numbers, which do tell a story, but anecdotally from the people you've spoken to there, Manny, what are they saying? How does this compare historically to what we've seen in the Houston area?
Well, you know, Houston is used to seeing flooding. It happens from time to time, but this one is unusual in that it was just so bad. Yes, they're used to getting these really significant thunderstorms that cause this type of flash flooding. But the difference this time is that the high pressure system that drew up all that moisture drew it up all over the state. So there were storms in Dallas, in North Texas, in San Antonio, in Austin. So there's all that water coming up, coming down actually from all of those areas. So it's not just the rain that fell on Houston. It is water that is coming from throughout the state that's filling up the creeks and the rivers and causing this type of flooding here. That's what's unusual or different, we can say, about this rain event. So people are used to seeing flooding here, but this one just a really bad one.
I asked this admittedly sitting in a climate-controlled, temperate and very dry studio, Manny, but I did see some footage of a couple of folks who went out into their flooded Houston backyard and found a gator. What is perhaps lurking in those waters around you?
Well, as you see there, as you have just told us about, yes, there are critters out here. We have talked to people at this apartment complex who have said, yeah, be careful of the water moccasins. You just don't know what's in the water, and that, of course, is a concern for people here. Even as they try to get belongings in or out of their apartments, yes, they can wade through it, but do you really know what's in the water? And a more significant thing is how deep the water really is. That's why we see people bringing out their boats, people renting canoes at this point to try to avoid any of those dangers as they try to get in and out of their apartments best they can.
Let's get you out of the water then, there, Manny. We appreciate it. Manuel Bojorquez.
All right.